Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there? We are into the new year, Dave. It
We
is
are.
January 5th, 2025, episode number 121. Hyatt, how was your new year?
My new year was good. I just want to give a shout out to all those coaches out there who are in this grind. I've been out of it for a while. I was at the bubble Friday night, and I just forgot how long that these weeks are. And shout out to Brian Prendergast. Friday night at the bubble all night. Saturday, ocean breeze all day. Sunday, ocean breeze all day. Kudos to all you coaches out there who are making a difference to all these kids and putting in the work. We couldn't have the sport without you guys, and keep it up and keep grinding.
Yeah, and shout out to Brian Swain, former Manchester
Yeah.
athlete and a guest on this show. Fantastic pole vaulter. The youngest official I think I've ever seen. What is he, 19, 18?
He graduated high school last year.
Last
I
year.
saw him at
Yeah.
the meet. I took a selfie with him, put it up on our page. It was cool. He said that he was told he was the youngest official to go through the program in the last 35 to 40 years.
And you know what? I love it because it's
32.
something we've talked about on the show. We had Mike Mooney on, and we need young officials.
Absolutely.
And Brian stepped up. I hope he does it for a long time, but just doing it now gives help. And I hope he has a great experience doing it. That's freaking awesome. I was so pumped. You sent me that picture. I was like, ah, shit, he's there.
Yeah, it was
Like, that's so cool.
I saw him and I'm like, Brian, did you transfer schools? I don't know this yellow school, but but he looked great. But like I was asking him, what is it like being a younger? He said it's been great. The older officials have been amazing, guiding him, and he's only doing the pole vault now, which is great because that's the event.
That's his specialty. That's what he knows.
He did, but he's loving it and he's committed, and it's something that he can see himself doing even when he, ventures on further in his own career, on the weekends and things, which is what we need. We need more young blood and more people to do their part if they can,
Exactly. So shout out to all of them. Just before we jump into the fun stuff, wherever you are watching, we appreciate it as always. If you're watching on X, Facebook, YouTube, make sure you do your due diligence there. Repost and follow on X, follow and share on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe, spread this word of mouth. And if you're listening later in podcast form on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, iTunes and Apple, same thing. If you're listening there, give us a follow. Yeah, my excellent broadcasting skills here. Give us a good rating and a comment there. It always helps. And just go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. So last week we had a fun show, Dave. We had Lyle Smith on. Second time having him on. Always a good time. We talked about his book. His book is fantastic.
It's great.
Blood, Sweat, and Spikes. The Wetmore Way. It's such a good read. And I recommend everyone go out in 10 days. It's going to be on sale. The pre-sale's there. So go and go buy that book if you're a running fan. And
I believe there is an audio option possibly too, but
that's
I'm not sure.
Cool. That's awesome.
And I hope it is Lyle who would be reading it because he has a very his voice is very graceful and pronounced.
Unlike mine. But yeah, no, he could tell a very good story. But
absolutely.
This week I want to bring in our guest because I'm pumped because it's a great story. And also it always helps when you're bringing on family. He's my cousin-in-law, so it's like family-esque, but I'm pumped to have him on. I've been talking about him coming on a while. Let's bring him in here. He is Greg Kavazanjian. Did I say it right?
You said it right.
Hell yeah, Greg Kavazanjian.
You can't even pronounce your own family member's name.
You know that last name, okay? When I first saw it, when he first started dating my wife's cousin, I'm like, he's a nice guy, but that last name's got to go somewhere. He's got to take it was, but get used to it. But he is
because now your cousin has that last name too.
Yes. But he is a 4-time Ironman athlete and an ultra marathoner and wants everyone to know he is the emperor of the galaxy. Greg, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? Excited to be here. Thank you.
We're pumped to have you. I've been talking to you about jumping on for like the last few times that we've had like family occasions. And this time I was like, you know what? I just don't want him to think that I'm just like, hey, come on the show, talking mess. Like I was like, no, let's really get this done. And I'm pumped that you decided to jump in.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Let's get it going.
So real quick, we always do personal best if we get them. And I don't like to keep my guests waiting that long. So Greg, you're going to hang out because I posted every once in a while, I post our little thing because one of the things we like to do here, Greg, and I don't know if you want to spread this out to your community, is we want to hear about everyone's personal records or PRs, whether it is their first time becoming an Ironman and they do it barely at the mark, or they're sitting there competing for an elite or an ultra. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We hear it because we want to give a shout out to all the PRs. So I put it onto the 800-meter running page. And Dave, I don't know if you saw, we got some awesome comments. So
I didn't see it. No, great.
7 of them here. I'm going to give them all quick shout outs. So
I have a PR too.
yep, really quick. Amo Aman ran a 153, and I think these are just all-time PRs, and I'm okay with that. Bruce Bett with the 156. Steve Lux ran a 154 at age 15 in 1981 as a freshman. 148 for the 660 at age 9. That's freaking fast.
That's
Luis Felipe Villar Fonseca ran a 148.52 indoor. Oratili Moral, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. Ran a 153.92 in 2019's outdoor at altitude. 22 at the time, then lockdown happened. That sucks. Levis Career ran a 149.20, and then David Bezina II ran a 13.89 indoor, and this past year at 42 years old. So freaking awesome. A 213.89 at 42, and everyone there, all your PRs. The one thing I've said about this sport, we talked about it with Lyle, and this kind of goes in with, Ironmans, ultras, any sort of running, endurance type of sport.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're the fastest or the slowest. If you're giving it your all, those lactic acids build the same. It hurts the same. And that beer, if you're over 21, tastes fantastic at the end sometimes. Because that's honestly how they offer.
Sure.
Honestly, that's how they get most people to run like 5Ks, 10Ks, and halves.
They got
It's
the old
that.
truck,
So
the old truck on the side, and the
it's always a
back-
massive sponsor too,
Right
and
out
it's
the side.
freaking hilarious. But no, but it's all the same
It
at
is.
the end. So that's why we love giving those shout outs.
Yeah.
Hyatt, you have one?
I do. A kid on my team, Henry Terlizzi, with a big PR in the shot put. He threw 51 feet 10 and a quarter inches. School
Nice.
record
Over
51.
yeah.
School record is 51:11, and he's right there. Worked
Nice.
so hard. Great kid.
Go get it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome, and we're just very, very happy for Henry, and we just know that he's going to keep working and just keep getting better.
That's fantastic. So yeah, that's one of my favorite portions of the show. And like one day, my goal is to have so many PRs that I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna do the show today. I'm gonna do a PR show tomorrow. Like I want to have that many where I have to do like a half an hour just announcing PRs because that would be sick. But one day, one can dream. So
Absolutely.
Greg, I want to get to you because when we have our guests on, we always like to talk about you, and we start off with your journey and how you got there. So when did you get the spark to start doing Ironman and multis and running ultras and all those types of things?
So I think I was probably around 10 years old when I first saw the Ironman on TV, and I might have been a little bit younger. And I remember saying to myself, "That's bananas. I want to do that someday." I just like incredible feat. And I think the thing that really got me was I don't know if you guys have seen there's a gentleman who his son had some degenerative disease, and he would drag him in the water, and he would push him.
Which is insane.
Incredible. It's incredible.
I think I saw like a Sports Center special on that or something.
Yeah.
And it was very profound. And it like if you didn't feel something watching that, then I don't know if you're even breathing.
Yeah, 100% remember seeing that. I know when ESPN on Sunday mornings used to do the sports reporters, and like I was a young kid at the time, and I was like, these are boring. Some of the stories are cool, but like that was one of them that I remember them bringing up.
Yeah, dude. I mean, listen, it's an incredible feat to begin with, but to be able to do that, it's just superhuman. So I remember seeing it when I was a little kid, and I was like, that one day I want to do this. And as you get older, things hurt a little bit more, and things get a little bit more.
Yes, they do.
Listen, I ran here and there, and I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do this. But I went through a lot of hard times in my life, a lot of ups and downs, and struggled with some substance abuse for a couple years, and was really at like a low point in my life when I got sober. A couple of friends reached out, and they were like, "Hey, listen, you want to go for a jog with me on the boardwalk?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. You know what? This will be good." Like I was maybe a couple days out of rehab, and I met them up on the boardwalk down in Long Beach, where I'm from, and it was a 4-mile race. And I was like, yeah, God, dude, what are you doing to me? I haven't ran in years, but me being the competitive person that I am, I played a lot of sports in high school, in college. And of course, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. I want to,
That's called an ambush. What they did to you was
It's an
ambush you.
oh,
Hey,
totally
here's our
sandbag.
buddy. He's right out of rehab. Let's just make him kill himself on
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
race.
See what this guy's made of. But,
Welcome back, buddy.
I mean, I think I ended up with like an 8:45 pace, which in my head I was like, that's pretty good for not running. Like, I
Yeah.
probably
Yeah, it's
hadn't
not
ran in
bad.
10 years. But I just got the bug from there, and one of my buddies who was a couple years sober, who was trying to get me down in the chairs for a little while. He had done a sprint triathlon, and he always talked to me about doing the Ironman. So I was like, let me jump in and try this. So there was a sprint triathlon a couple of weeks after that. Again, I hadn't swam. So let me backtrack a little bit. In high school, I played lacrosse, hockey, and I swam to stay in shape. I wasn't really great at swimming, but I just did it to stay in shape. And I probably hadn't swam since high school. So I jumped in the water, and it was a whole new world to me, because the amount of people jumping in the water at the same time, especially the sprint, like they kind of have it more structured in the big races now, in the full distance Ironmans and the halves, where they send 4 or 5 people in at a time. But in the small sprint, everyone's entering at the same time, like the old school days.
What is it? A half mile for the sprint or 400?
The
I think it's
sprint, I think it's somewhere like 700 meters.
yeah. Okay.
Approximately, I think. That was the only one I've done, and then I kind of jumped up to bigger ones. But I did pretty good for the first one, and like I said, man, I'm just a super competitive person, and everything I do, I mean, I want to be the best at everything. I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best friend. I want to be the best architect, carpenter. Anything that I do in life, I want to be the best, and that can rub people the wrong way, or it can make people love me, So
You got to see this guy on the dance floor. He just tries to outdo everyone out there.
well, that's what my wife said. She was like, you don't have to prove that you're the sweatiest guy in the building. But yeah, I had a good time, and I finished, and it was difficult, but it was something that, I mean, when I'm in it, there's no more raw form of competition than when you're competing against yourself, right? So, like, there's a million other people out there racing with you, but in my head, this is my goal. I want to finish it in this time, and I always shoot for the moon, so I often land lower than what my expectations are. So that just drives me to want to do more and to do better, and I'm constantly trying to improve. And from there, I signed up a couple months later for a half. And
talk about a jump, a sprint try to
how do you train for all this stuff? Like you're just out. So like, were you training, or you were just like, I'm just crazy enough and competitive enough that I'm just going to go for it?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. I Googled a training. I kind of just went for it on the sprint. And then from there, I was like, this is something I can really get into. So I Googled, and I got some like free budget training plan. Like, it was like a 16-week training plan for a half. And I definitely probably pushed it further than I should have with that. But I got on, it was in Montauk, and did a pretty good swim, got on the bike, and funny story, I got hit by a car on mile 12 on the bike. Yeah. It was an open course, so I probably should have kept my head up. But these things that I'm
But
kind
you're
of
pushing, right? Like you're pushing, trying to go. Your head's down, and
Yeah,
it was still green though. So like, still a newbie at it.
Yeah, I'm learning.
So how many of the veterans rode by you and was like, "Keep your head up, kid," as they drove right by you?
Hey, buddy! Just yelling at the poor little old lady that sideswiped me, but I felt really bad for yelling at her after the fact. But I got up, and I actually finished third in my age group. So I was psyched, and I got off the course, and I was like, it's a pretty fair amount of pain, but I immediately was like, what's the next step now? You know,
So
where am I
how
going from here?
How happy were you that you did swim for those few years in high school, though? Because I know a lot of people that do go into the try swimming. If they didn't do it, was
It's the
is like the
hardest.
last thing that they pick up, right? Because if you're already a runner, you get on the bike, you have those endurance legs, but swimming is a whole different animal. It's full
Yeah.
body. If you're not, runners, like they do a little bit of training, upper body distance runners, but it's nothing as strenuous as swimming, where you're coming in going, yeah, I haven't swam in forever, but I know how to swim. Like I know proper form. I know, and that's massive. Knowing proper form and how to breathe and all of that is huge. And I'd imagine sometimes that goes out the window when you're exhausted doing Ironman. But it's like, how much of an advantage did you feel you had a little as a newbie? Like, hey, I have an idea of how to swim. I'm not a pro, but I'm not a novice at swimming either.
Well, yeah, I left out that I was a beach patrol lifeguard for a couple of years
Oh,
there.
so that helps.
That does help.
that helps swimming against currents.
But yeah, so I mean, the swim should really be a warm up. It's such a small part of the race comparatively, but like you said, it can be scary for somebody who doesn't know how to swim.
Sure.
You know, I have friends who are kind of following my lead now, who I kind of motivated to get into these races, and they're signing up for. I have like 6 or 7 people signing up for races this year, and they're
That's
like,
so
"What
sick.
do I do?" And they're terrified of the swim, and
Well, I think it's like the fear of like getting set behind, right? Because it's not necessarily like I'm gonna finish it, but if I'm now so far behind, and I think it's like the competitiveness of
Sure.
once you're in it, you realize I'm competing against me, right?
Yeah.
Like once you're doing it, but at first it's like I'm competing against everyone. Like I think it's like the mindset
Yeah.
has to be that
Or
change where
I
I
knew.
don't care about anybody else. I need to do me.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, well, I knew also 2 people who wanted to do the Ironman things that, but had this fear of open water swimming. Like they were just
Yeah.
Yeah.
the fact of like not being able to see what was underneath them or what was around. They had this fear where they just couldn't get in the water. Now, if it was in a pool, they would have been fine because they
totally.
would train in a pool, but they just couldn't. Like they would even get on the beach, they couldn't jump in. It
Yeah,
was weird.
there's a lot of people. One of my buddies, he was doing Lake Placid with us for the first time, swimming fine in the pool, and we went up for a training session and went up to Lake Placid to do a weekend, and we jumped in Mirror Lake, and there wasn't anybody there except like 6 of us, and he really couldn't handle going much more than like 100 meters.
I would never go
crazy.
in Lake Placid unless Betty White was there because she feeding that damn alligator.
You see, now, Greg, I think there's got to be an advantage of growing up near the beach because
Oh,
obviously
absolutely.
Dave and I grew
Sure.
up near the beach being in Jersey. We were right at the shore. So it's like swimming at the beach, going out for like, on the boat in the bay and things like that. We've all jumped in open water before. It's
Yeah.
not something, and there's could be sharks at the beach. Like we don't care. You're so used to it.
Yeah.
But if you're someone that was never really a beach goer, didn't have a lot of lakes around them, like didn't do that, I could see where that fear is, where I could see all 3 of us going like, okay, it's a beach. Like we're gonna run through the beach, get in the water, and just start swimming.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. There's another beach somewhere at the other side. Like,
Yeah.
but I could imagine someone that never or really didn't do that or didn't grow up there. I could see that fear where it's like I can't see the other side. I'm not doing
Or
this.
I can't see what is underneath
Right
me.
below me.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And listen, it's there's a reason they do it in the order that they do it, because they do it in order of descending danger. You know what I mean? Like if you're running, you just stop running. That's all you got to do. If you're on a bike, you can fall off. If you're in the water, you can drown. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And there's
I never thought of that. Wow. That makes perfect
You're
sense.
the most fresh for the beginning at the most dangerous part.
exactly. And
Makes
there's,
sense.
I mean, it's hectic. Like I had mentioned back in the day, it used to be a mass entry. Now they kind of toned it down and they let in people in groups of 4 or 5, and you're entering like that. But it still gets crazy hectic.
Is it
You
kind
get
of by seed at that
punched
point? Do they enter you in by seed times or things like that?
self-seed. You self-seed, but people aren't very honest.
No, that we
You know?
found that in track too. Let's
So-
go. Yeah, ask Dave about coaches and coaches meetings and signing people up for events.
Yeah.
Well, it's different now because you have to have, because everything is on mile split. So like
Yeah.
you can only enter like if you have a time, but it's
Right.
the olden days, man, like, all right, yeah, my kid ran 46.5. Where?
Yeah.
In a dual meet on his dad's watch. Count it.
That 46 is really a 56. Thanks, bro.
So you're getting in the water and you're swimming over people getting punched, kicked, like and somebody's in front of you and super slow. You got to swim over the top of them, and people are getting dunked. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
it can get hectic in there, and people have like little anxiety attacks. So I mean, the best thing for them is to pull off to the side and take a breath, because, like I said, it's such a small part of the race. It should be a warm up. Unless you're a pro, you're not hammering. You're doing a decent pace. Like if you're swimming to the point where you're out of breath, or you're swimming just comfortably, might be a difference of 5 minutes in total, because it's such a small part of the race. But
so I could imagine you as a veteran person now, like if you have someone that kind of goes over you, it's just kind of part of the sport, right? Like you just get used to it, and okay, hold my breath for a second.
Don't panic,
go, right? And just try not to get kicked in the head. Keep going. Like
it could get a little frustrating, get a little pissed at people sometimes. I've broken a finger in one race, get scratched, kicked, but it's all part of the race, and it's
so it's definitely a contact sport.
A little bit, yeah. And of course, I mean, me being me, I'm again competitive, so I'm like, you want to swim over me, I'm gonna swim over you.
That sounds awesome.
But so as you do your first half, you said that you finished, like, what's next? How did you progress from that point on into where you are now?
Oh, it's funny, because me not having like an endurance athlete background, I'm like, I did this in 5.5 hours. That means let me just double it. I'll do the full in 11 hours, right? I have no background. So
sure.
I have no nutritional information. And I'm just hammering away at training. I'm gonna do Lake Placid. It's like the mecca of all Ironmans in North America.
Yes,
aside from Kona, which is the World Championships, but like Lake Placid is the spot, and it's my backyard. So let me sign up for that, and training. COVID comes and it gets pushed away, so I can't compete, and it kind of bums me out. But you know what? It's like, it just gives me a little extra motivation, because maybe this happened for a reason, and I wasn't really ready. So I try to focus, train more, learn more about the sport, ask people. I'm talking to a lot of people who have done it, and then Lake Placid, when the following year comes and I'm ready to rock and I'm feeling good, and I get out there, I do a killer swim. It's probably the best swim that I've done, was my first one. But again, probably went a little too hard. Then the bike comes, and it's 7,500 feet of elevation up Whiteface Mountain twice. And like I said, no nutritional background. So I'm not doing anything on the bike. I don't have gels. I don't have special drinks. I got water. And I'm grabbing a banana here and there
There's no electrolytes coming back in your body at all.
And I'm hammering. I'm doing great. I averaged like 21 miles an hour on the first lap, which is pretty good for a beginner. And
that's good on an e-bike. So it's probably very, very good.
And I come around the second lap and my legs just lock up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. I've like I said before, I played multiple sports: lacrosse, hockey, played a little bit of rugby, and never cramped up before playing sports. And this was new to me. And I get off the bike, and I've never looked forward to running a marathon so much in my life, because I was ready to get off that bike. And mind you, I never ran a marathon prior to my first Ironman.
Jesus.
So I get off the bike and I go to tie my shoes, and I bend over and my hammy locks up, and then I go lock up, and then my calves and my quads lock up, and then it's going up my back. And I walked 26.2 miles like a cripple, like stumbling. And
but you walked, and that just shows, like you said,
the determination. You didn't bow out.
I signed up for this. It was canceled last year. There's no way in hell I'm not finishing this race.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
I had just proposed to my wife. She was pregnant, and I had family and friends there. And one of my best friends growing up happens to be my brother-in-law, and he was there. And my father-in-law said, "I don't know if he's going to make it." And Mike turned to him and said, "They're going to have to peel him off this course. There's no way he's not finishing."
And mind
So,
you, we all knew you because we met you a few times, especially the Duns. They met you a good amount, but it's like you weren't around for that long at that point,
no,
and you were running. So it was like everyone knew you. Mike talked about you a ton, like so, like. But it was like again, it was really getting to know your personality, and like Mike knows you better than
yeah,
anybody. So for him to say that, and now it all makes sense after knowing you for years. Now, 100% it all makes sense.
yeah. So there's absolutely no quit. Listen, I come up short in a lot of things that I do, but it just drives me to do better every time. And I think that I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and it just it adds to the character in all aspects. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah.
this is just another thing that I had to prove to myself. You know, I had another friend there who was like who had done Ironmans and who I kind of look up to, and he was one of the people who had helped me get into the sport, and he crushed his Lake Placid ride, and he was like, "Dude, what you're doing is so much harder than what I did." He was like, "I finished earlier and I wasn't in any pain." He was like, "You're every step that you take, you're in massive pain,
Yeah.
and you can quit whenever you want." But I was like, "There's not a shot in hell."
So
So
the
Now,
thing I
do you go ahead.
really quick, Dave. The thing I think people need to understand about the Ironman, you can complete it, but there is a certain time you need to complete it by to be considered
yeah,
an Ironman. What is it? 14 hours? Is that the number?
17.
17. Okay,
Yeah,
so you need to complete it by 17 hours to order to be considered an Ironman. So it's
yeah,
like you can complete it for your own if you want to complete it just to say you did it, but there's a certain group of people that can call themselves an Ironman. It's not just go do it and you're officially it. Like no.
yeah.
And the
If I
17
finished,
hours is
I
because
would
it's
call myself
hard.
an Iron Man. I just finished. I'm like, I did it. No, but Greg, what I was saying, your mindset towards all this is absolutely fascinating. Just that a drive and will. Do you feel that from any of your past endeavors in life helped you garner this sense of strength? Be because of maybe things that you've gone through in your past
Oh,
that helped give
absolutely.
you strength, and you're like, listen, if I can overcome that, I just got to walk and finish race. Like, did going through all those things help make you tougher and have a different perspective on what's really hard and what is not?
I think so. I like I said, I had a pretty bad substance abuse problem for a while. My father passed away when I was really young. My mom raised me watching her work multiple jobs, um, having other people in my family step up and help, and me basically having the world by the balls coming out of high school, going into college. I had going to school for a great degree. I went to school for architecture and civil engineering, dual degree, and played multiple sports. Came out, got on the fire department, had the whole world by the balls, like I said, and then I kind of threw it away. And the ups and downs. You learn who you are and what you're made of, you
Yeah.
know, and especially being out running and biking when it's just you and you're just there's I got a lot of Goggins in my head, you know, and there's a lot of that bitch. There's a lot of that bitch that's telling me, "All
Yeah.
right, you did
Yeah.
enough. You did enough." But then there's nothing more satisfying than quieting that.
You know, it's funny because you talk about Goggins and Joe Rogan talks about the same thing I think he got it from Goggins, where it's like you need to sit there and tell the you that wants to quit to piss off all the
Yeah,
time because the you that wants to quit is always there and they're always going to try and convince you. You need to sit there, and the you that wants to keep going is always really quiet and really shy. And you need to sit there and tell the you that wants to stop doing whatever it is because I've
Yeah.
listened, I don't always listen to Rogan, but a few of them I have. He's like, there is not a single point in my life where I want to get in an ice bath. Like that is never
yeah,
a thing I want to do. He's like,
yeah,
but I have to do it. Like I don't want to do that final rep that really hurts because I'm already cramping up, but I have to. And he's like, and the more you fight back against that you that wants to quit, the easier it becomes. It's another muscle. It's another thing to develop, but it's real easy to fall back into, well, I could do it tomorrow. That really, like, the quitter takes over if you let it. And it's real easy. And I can imagine, like Dave said, the things that you've been through in your life, you've been battling that guy that says it's real easy to quit and sit down and just do nothing now more than most. And but now with the Ironman and everything and having to get up, I know you get up at the ass crack of dawn to go do your runs and stuff like that and work out. So that's, again, it's real easy to wake up and go, nah, not today.
Yeah.
I've worked out the last 3 weeks. I'm tired, but it's really hard to just throw yourself out of bed, get your shoes on and be like, all right, take the first step. That's all you got to do. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm up at 3:00 in the morning every day because I want to get my training out of the way. I get a little bit of studying done and do some breathing exercises, bust my ass for 2.5 hours. This way I can wake up with the kids and have breakfast with them before I go
Thank you
to
for
work.
coming on the show, knowing you have to be up so damn
Well,
early.
tomorrow's my one day off. So
Hey,
Good,
perfect planning.
couldn't have worked out better. But yeah, so it's I think it's the anterior mid-cingulate cortex is that part of your brain that it gets bigger every time you do something that you don't want to do. And people who die young tend to have smaller ones, and people who live longer and have faced more adversity, I think that's what I think it was the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, but don't quote me on that.
Dave, we have to start not liking each other because I do want to come on and do this all the time. So mine's shrinking. It's got like I want to be here and do it. So mine is definitely getting smaller. We have to start not liking each other so we can force ourselves here.
I gotta do this.
It's definitely not easy every day, but I love the way I feel at the end of it, and getting out and it helps the rest of my day so much. You know what I mean? Getting that workout done in the morning, my stress levels are straight down. You know what I mean? I can handle any problem that I'm confronted with. You know what I mean? And my energy levels are incredible.
Yeah.
It's been a completely 180-degree turn in my life, and I'm enjoying the ride that I'm on, and I'm excited to help other people do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I was gonna
go ahead,
Alex.
No, it's all you.
I was gonna ask, like, how much do you feel that you need to give back to those who are struggling, and is that something that matters to you? And have you had people reach out to you who have seen the success that you've had post, rehab and things like that have said, hey, I want what Greg wants? Because that's what people want. They want to strive when they see others succeed. They want that, and that helps motivate them to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I definitely
toot it.
I've helped
Toot it,
a lot
baby.
of people. A lot of people have reached out, and it's like, it's like Christmas gifts on Christmas. It's great to get gifts, but it's better to give them. You know what I mean? And it's great to me for what I've done for myself, but when I can do it to other people and help them, it's on a whole nother level. And to see other people's families go through what my family went through with me, it's really rewarding. And a lot of people have gone out on runs with me. Not a whole hell of a lot of people really want to stay on the level that I push it to. But everybody's got their own, you know what I mean? Everybody's got their own method. I try to push that because that's what helped me. But everybody, like I said, everybody's got their own niche that they could fall into that will help them on their path. But
and people in recovery, like, the more that they help people, that also helps them too, because it helps them stay on track, and it helps them because we're giving back, and it's our way, it's everyone's way of like helping. Yeah,
it's like being a teacher too. Like you're learning as you're teaching somebody else. If you can regurgitate it properly, then you have a strong grasp of the information, the knowledge. So
sure. So this would be a good time to bring up, you have a venture coming towards possibly coaching and getting, a racing team going, Relentless Endurance Racing. Want to talk about, like, we're talking about bringing people in and helping them. You obviously want to take the next step. in the sport, which I think is something that's fantastic. You're obviously a veteran now, 4 Ironmans deep. You've done a 100-mile ultra. You're out of your freaking mind. But so talk a little bit about relentless endurance racing.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I have had multiple people reach out to me about getting involved in Ironmans, whether it be a sprint, a half. I kind of try to push the full because I'm really good at peer pressure. But a lot of people have been kind of perceptive to the idea and receptive of the idea, and it's exciting. And I think that by me taking the next step and gaining my coaching certification, I will better my training. I'll have a better understanding of the mechanics and the nutrition and these all the utilities that AI has to offer with training, like with Training Peaks and TriDot,
100%.
like training stress scores and all that fun stuff. But I have, like I said, a bunch of people who just signed up, a couple more people who are on the cusp, who are like, I don't know if I want to take the dive, and kind of keep getting sort of little jabs. But I'm trying to get my certification done in the next couple months. This way, I can put together some training plans for them and hopefully get a team going. I'm excited.
That's awesome.
That'll be so much fun. And I'll you know what the thing is too, like one thing that as I've gotten to know you better over the years is you have now set this as a goal. So we will see Relentless Endurance Racing Team at some point represented at Lake Placid. And we will have, and you're the type of guy too that you will put together good training plans because you're going to dedicate yourself on how to do proper training plans. And if the people are really in, okay, here's your nutrition, here's your training plan, here's your sleep plan. This is what we and work around work schedules, obviously. And I think what you're going to enjoy is the same thing Dave and I enjoy as we became coaches in the sport that we love. Is when you eventually sit there, you're going to make what this racing team, and you're going to get this stud, male or female stud, that is just okay. They won this race. Okay, they won this race. Oh, now they won here. Oh, I'm going to Hawaii with them because they're now running championship. And you're going to sit there and you're going to be happier for them than you ever were for yourself because, I'm excited that you're jumping into coaching considering that's Dave and I have both done that. And I'll tell you right now, you are going to be so rewarded because there is no better feeling than watching an athlete that you helped coach succeed. It's not even a win. Maybe you had someone who
get a PR or
18-hour Ironman two times, did an Ironman and got 18. And now all of a sudden they dip below and they're at 16:45 and they're officially an Ironman with you. Like you're going to feel better because you're obviously, you're an experienced Ironman runner. You know how to do them. There's a strategy and you know how to do it. But you'll be so much more pumped for that person that does it the first time. And I'm excited to hear the stories in a few years from now as we have you back on to talk about your team and all of its accomplished and things like that. Because there's no doubt that you're going to put this together.
Yeah, I'm psyched about it. I'm really
Definitely.
psyched.
So I want to jump into, I love your story that, you're now 4 Ironmans deep. You're an ultra marathon athlete which is cool too, because you kind of not only stuck to just doing the triathlons, the Ironmans, you're just doing like the long run. So you had in there that you did 100-miler and it was probably the hottest day of your life. Yeah. Talk about that 100-mile race. What made you do it? And that's very different. Man. Running 100 is very different than doing an Ironman. They're both difficult in their own ways, right? Yeah. So what made you want to just run 100 miles?
So I got involved. I got involved with these guys from a local firehouse in Rockaway. My grandfather was actually a fireman in the same firehouse. That's and the same kid who was at the Ironman, my first Ironman, has told me keep going, that he did really well.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys who ran for the first time. What they do is they run 34.3 miles from Long Beach down to Ground Zero.
Yep.
For the 343 firefighters who died on 9/11. And when he told me about it, I said I wanted to get involved. I said that's something that means a lot to me. I was a firefighter for a little while before I got laid off. I was a firefighter for about 5 years, and my whole family's been firefighters, so it's something that kind of hit home. I remember where I was in high school, looking out the back window, seeing the smoke, and coming home, seeing people jumping out of the trade center, and When I heard about it, I was like, I'm in. I want to run the 34.3 miles with these guys, and I was one of the core few guys in the group who ran for the first time with them. And what they do is they raise, it's like a line of duty death fund where they raise money for the families and the firehouses. So when a firefighter passes away, it's on the firehouse. Like the FDNY will give money, but it takes a while for it to be released. So the burden is on the firehouse to take care of the family. Like transportation to and from wherever they're going, wakes, funerals, yada yada, and food, everything.
That's just an awesome brotherhood too. That you guys all share.
And it all lands on these guys, and all these guys are grieving in their own way to begin with. You know what I mean? So it's a tall order for them. So basically, what this does is this helps. They raise money, and it helps ease the burden. So I said I'm in, and I've been running with them on 9/11 for a couple of years now. And one of the guys in that group had said, listen, there's this 100-mile race in New York City. We should sign up. And it was a lottery. I was the only one who got selected. So I was like, all right, you know what? I was talking to my wife. She was like, you don't have anything to prove. This is ridiculous. You're not an ultra marathon runner. And that gave me more motivation, of course.
She should know better at this point.
I missed the sign up for it. It was like you got to sign up by December 10th. And I missed it. And I was like, shit, I missed. I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe it's a sign. And then a couple days later, I got an email, and the guy was like, we know it's the holiday season, so we're extending the deadline. So I looked at my wife. I was like, listen, this is a sign. We got to do it. She was like, you're ridiculous. I'm going to bed. I signed up, and I was already doing. I was in the process of training for an Ironman down in Chattanooga. So I was training for the Ironman and an ultra at the same time. So I was mixing my long runs in. I was running like 30 miles before work on Thursday mornings. And I think my training load got so heavy that I was like, I don't know if there was one run where I did it was like a 22-mile run. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. This feels miserable. But I put my head down and I was like, let's get it done, And the day comes, and sure enough, it's like the hottest day of the year. But I made a couple dumb decisions too. It was supposed to be so hot, and I thought about like landscapers always wear long sleeve shirts to stay out of the sun. Now, when I'm I sweat eating a cheeseburger, so I mean, I think it was a terrible choice I'm always running without a shirt. I think it was a terrible decision on this day, I'm going to wear a long sleeve shirt.
And it wasn't even like the Under Armour like warm gear, was it? Where like kind of like converts it? Like what was
some sort of Under Armour-ish shirt, but it wasn't helping in any way, shape, or form. And I had the vest on, which I wasn't accustomed to. I had they gave us like a 3-page map. There was no real signs on the street, so we had to navigate ourselves. So I had like 4 pages of stuff tucked in my little vest, 2 water bottles juggling on my chest, long sleeve. It was like 98 degrees, 100% humidity. And I was like, listen, I've gotten a good solid couple of runs in. I'll make it to 40, no problem. And then I'll reassess.
I'll make it to 40.
I'll make it to 40, reassess. And sure enough, that it's so hot, dude. I'm telling you, it felt like there was a come along attached to my lower back with the cable attached to the back of my eyeballs, sucking my eyeballs back to the back of my head. Dude, it was awful. And I made it. I was at like 20, and I called my wife. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I have no idea there's no way I'm going to be able to get to 100. And she was like, how do you eat an elephant? You guys know?
One bite at a time.
So she was supposed to be at home, and then I called her again when I'm cramping up at like 28, and I see buildings in the background. So she was coming to the first rest stop, which was at like 37, and she
Yeah.
was waiting there for me. So I just started getting a little teary-eyed. So I was like, all right, I got to just get to 37, you know?
Yep.
And I actually had a guy who could pace me on a bike, but I had to wait till the first one. I had to go for the first 37 by myself. There were so many negative thoughts going through my head.
Yeah.
I mean, the most mentally challenging thing, it was probably harder than going through withdrawals. To be honest with you, it
Yeah.
was, I was in so many dark places. Everything hurt. I felt so drained.
Now,
Um,
was there kind of like the feeling too of like, why am I like this right now so early? Like I've done 30-mile runs. Like, why
Yeah.
is this going on now?
And then
Like,
second
because
guessing, and then doubt
yeah, it's
creeps in,
something
and
that you
yeah,
realized, like, and that's always the worst thing, especially for a run. Like the moment you start telling yourself, I can't, it's
yeah.
then you can't. Like your legs start to get 20 times heavier. Like you're start all of a sudden your lower back starts to hurt for no reason. Like things that never happen to you on any run that you ever do starts happening all because of the mental. And was that kind of weighing on you? Like, there's no reason for
Absolutely.
this. Like, I train harder than this has ever been.
Absolutely. I mean, there was that, but it was so many. It was like, you can't quit. So I was like making up these scenarios in my head. Like you can't just quit, because then you'll be a quitter and you'll never hear the end of it. And that's
Mhm.
just not who you are. So I was like, maybe if you just fall down, somebody will pick you up, just collapse,
Yeah.
just give up and collapse. But I was like, no, I just got to go. But at mile 37, I had a guy whose son had just passed away in that firehouse. And I knew that if I could get to him, that there was no shot that I wasn't finishing that race. So I'm running, I'm at like mile like 35 going over the Triborough Bridge. And I'm like trotting, really hurting, dude.
Yeah.
And here comes this angel on his bike over the Triborough Bridge with a big bucket of mustard. And he's like, suck down the mustard. Let's go. Get over the bridge and let's
Yep.
do it. And I was like, dude, Bruce, his name's Bruce Gerhardt. He's the man. And he got me over that bridge. I took like a good 25 minutes to collect myself. And my whole family was there. And they were like, dude, just stop. You're good. You don't have anything to prove. You're good. And I was like, no way. There's no way I'm not doing this. And they were like, it's okay. If you're doing it, I remember my wife saying, like, if you're doing this to prove something to our kids, you don't have to do that. Like, it's okay if you fail. I said, it's 100% okay if I fail, but it's not okay if I quit.
Yeah.
If I don't make it, that's okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If I pull a hamstring, I do something that stops me from being
Yeah.
able to do it. That's completely different. But like, I have the same mentality. If I'm able bodied, if I worked for this, right? Like, it's different if they like you got thrown into the 4 miler and you cramped up and you couldn't do that 4 miler 3 days out of rehab, right? Like, that's different. But now,
Yeah.
like, I have the same mentality. If I trained for this
Yeah.
and I'm an IronMan, like, I'm supposed to be one of the toughest athletes in the world, like, no way in hell I'm not finishing this ultra.
Yeah.
Like,
Not a shot. And I mean, I don't remember how many people exactly started. It was like 250, I think, people were signed up. And by mile 37, there was only 60 people left.
it's incredible. It's
Most
hard.
people just dropped because of the heat.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was absolutely brutal. But as soon as I got to Bruce, I was like, let's do this. Let's go. And I just trotted. And somewhere around, I don't know, I think it was around 60, the sun went down and I got I got my second wind.
Yeah.
And I was feeling good. I was feeling good about myself. I was sending messages, updating friends and family. And then around mile 75, my foot started killing me,
Yeah.
like killing me. And I had to run with my shoelace untied. One of my buddies tried to tie my shoe loose, and I was like, ah. And I ended up having a really bad stress fracture in my foot. And but I was able to finish the race. 29 hours.
That's awesome, though.
It was
You
an
finished.
hour. It was an hour before the cutoff time. 35 people finished at the end of the day, and it was an incredible accomplishment, man. It was something that, like I said, listen, if I would have not done it, people would have forgot about it, and a couple of my friends probably would have abused me, but
Well, we would have poked fun at you a little bit
yeah,
at family parties, 100%.
yeah. But it's something to hang my hat on and
Oh, yeah.
tell my kids, like, listen, this is what I did. This is what you're capable of. You know, I want to set example for them and
No,
set example for other people. Like, it's so true. When you think that you're at your max, you're only at like 40%.
100. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's incredible what the body can do. It's the only machine on earth. The harder you push it, the harder it works.
And the thing is, like, anyone that's watching or listening that maybe isn't a runner and they hear, like, you had a stress fracture in your foot. How didn't you notice that
Right.
going into the race? The thing is, when you're training, especially endurance, you're just in pain all the time. You're sore all the time. Like, it becomes a natural state that you're just sore and you're just like, nah, I'm a little sore there. I'm fine. And you just train and train and train and you just get used to minor pains here and there. So I'm not surprised that you didn't notice that you probably had a stress fracture forming because you're just training and it's like, all right, my foot's a little sore, I'm fine, my foot's like, it's taking its turn, those muscles are taking their turn yelling at me and I'm going to beat them up. Like, that's kind of all it is. And so anyone that's not used to doing endurance training, you're just kind of always sore and you get used to kind of being in like dull pain, and it's not a bad thing. You're supposed to be. That means your muscles are working. So to not notice a stress fracture is not surprising. So I just want to make sure people know that it's not that Greg is like just some dumbass that's like, oh, pain, haha. Like, he's legitimately like, that's just kind of a normal state of being when you're endurance training.
Well, I mean, I know, but Greg, you brought up a great point that I've brought up in the past. I don't think we know yet and may never know the limits of the human body.
No
Like,
shot.
I mean, people thought that if you broke 4 minutes before Roger Bannister did it, that the human body would self-combust. Like, that was an actual theory that you would just explode into flames if your body was pressed to that level. You know, and then he went out and did it, and now, you know, we're down to 343 or not, but, you know, and
Crazy.
probably going to go much faster. But every year, like, we just had someone break the world record, the first woman to ever go under 15 minutes in the 5K. I don't care if it was roads, track. I don't care where it was. Like, but like, that would not have seemed possible even 5 years ago, you know, like, and every year we just, and, you know, I keep it mostly to a track, but it's in all aspects of life. We don't know what we are capable of because someone is always going to push past where we think that limit is. And you're one of those people who just has that inner drive. Just hearing you talk, I wish I had half of your drive. You know, like, I might not, you know, I might call an Uber if I'm walking to the store because, you know, I get tired. So, but it's just amazing to see people who have this inner will and this inner desire that, no, something happened. This is my plan and I'm going to go through with it. No matter what. So kudos to you. That is absolutely amazing.
Thanks, man.
So Greg, what is the Ironman community like? Obviously it's
incredible.
It gets bigger because it's becoming more and more popular, but it's still a niche group, right? Of people that actually do it. So what is that community like when you're at races? And as you know, you probably see similar people because regionally you guys kind of the same people go to Lake Placid probably all the time, and the races, the halves and things, the tune-up races. You probably know now, like, where's my tune-up before this race? Like, you get into that. No. What is that community like in terms of picking each other up? Because obviously you're competing, you're working hard, you're swimming over each other, but at the same time, what is it like? You're doing that, but like, what is the community like when before races, post races, things like that?
It's unreal, dude. It's such a huge part of why I go back and I do it too, because you go up to these places like Lake Placid. I went to Mont-Tremblant in Canada and did one. I'm going down to Texas to do another one in April. Chattanooga. Everywhere you go, the energy is absolutely electric. The whole town is just buzzing with this positive energy. Everybody's super nice. Everybody's super friendly, looking out for each other. For example, last September, I was doing a half, and I was really hoping to qualify for Worlds. And the year before, I missed it by 30 seconds. And this year,
like nothing in that. that long of a race, like that isn't much time at all.
Oh,
That's
dude,
like
nothing.
You're probably thinking back on every single moment that you
Second.
probably took a
Absolutely.
break, like an extra break that you didn't need to take mentally.
Absolutely.
Like it's that moment.
Like, just take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit, and I was
Right.
beating myself up about it. I had a sign on right next to my bike that I look at every morning. 30 seconds. But so I was amped. I was pushing it hard. I was ready to rock. I was doing really good, and I got 3 flats on the bike. My bike ran flat 3 times, and each time somebody stopped to help me. They stopped their race to
Right.
make sure I had CO2 or I had whatever I needed.
That's
And
really cool.
that's something that you don't like. People
Sure.
don't need to do. Everybody's doing their own race,
Well-
trying to better themselves and do their own PR, obviously, and
Yeah.
you know, and it's just, I mean, and it's honestly incredible too, the diversity of the people at these races too. You have 18-year-olds up to 80-something-year-olds.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's a 17-hour race to be considered an Ironman. But the best part of these
The
races
after, right?
is
Watching everyone come in.
it's the last hour. It's 11 to 12 p.m. watching the last couple of people come across the finish line
And make it
Yeah.
completely battered and broken, crawling across. And it's just like, it rips your heart apart. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, going through that day is so emotionally draining because you're in your head there's no music. You can't have headphones for the entire race, which I didn't realize until
Why? For like pacing reasons, or
Probably for emergency in case they
Danger?
have to. Yeah.
danger.
what about those new like open ear ones? You know, where you
Nothing,
can
but
kind of
because it's not only danger, it's also a performance enhancer, and I think that
You can go into a rhythm with music.
totally.
100% easily.
all right,
Totally.
Absolutely.
But
You know what it
No,
is?
they don't let marathoners wear
No.
earbuds when they do the marathons.
You know,
You can't do that at all in racing.
yeah, hearing this, you know, since we are a track show, this reminds me of the decathlon family. Like it reminds me how
Yeah.
they're all together after every event. They're there to hug each other and to pick each other up, or during a race. I've seen, you know, in the 1500, someone like stopped and helped someone finish. So I mean, I know in track, like that's probably the closest knit community that we have, and it's just great to see because you guys all know that you're going to suffer, that you're going to go through pain, you're going to hurt, you're going to want to quit. So to have just that one person come out and say, "Hey, let's go,"
yeah,
that can motivate you for maybe 10 miles. You know,
and
And you know what
the
I
whole
think?
race is littered with that. So that
it's fantastic.
my first race, like I said, my first 2 races actually, it took me to my 3rd race to get my nutrition down, and I took 3 hours off my time. But
Yeah,
my
that's
first 2
crazy.
races were my run portion of the race was just miserable cramp, and everybody that passes you is like, you got it. Forward is the direction. Keep moving. Just
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like it's just positive upbringing. Everybody's just great positive people. You know what I mean?
I think also the value of that race too, it is so long, like outside of the swim, like the swim, you got to go, like you can't do much, right?
yeah.
But when it comes to biking and running, they are so long that stopping for that 5 minutes, 2 minutes to help somebody, especially as a veteran that's done it before and things like that, that's not going to crush your time. That's not going to kill your race. Like, you know, if you're like, you can do that and be friendly. And then it's like, all right, my legs are a little fresher. I can make up a little bit. Let me pick it up. Like, have you stopped and done anything like that for anybody, or are you just a mean guy?
I haven't had the opportunity. I've asked people if they need help with stuff, but I haven't had the opportunity to be a hero yet. But I'm not opposed to it.
Right, but you know, but just having someone help you, you know, will make you want to help
Pay
someone
it
else.
forward.
You know, and that's just how it works. And you know, again, I see that a lot in the decathlon, and it's just great to know that you all know that this is going to be a miserable day. So let's all make it the best miserable day that we could possibly make it, because we're all going to hurt, we're all going to suffer, and let's just go in this like all of us. Yeah, we're all trying to get our best time, but we're all doing this for the greater good of everyone here.
Yeah.
So speaking of paying it forward, one of the things that you do that I see all the time is, now that you're starting to do a lot of these big races, whether it's an Ironman, a half, an ultra, or whatever, you're constantly raising money for foundations. Talk about some of the foundations that you're raising money for, and if you're doing any this year for your upcoming races, and also why. Why is it important to you to attach fundraising to what you're doing?
Yeah, for a couple reasons. Number one is I feel like that I'm kind of on borrowed time in a way, and if I can give back and make the most out of the rest of my life, um, and help people and or a person help anything, it kind of it's what I should be here for. It's what I should have been doing this entire time. And this is just one way that I can do that. I try to do it every day. I try to be a good person and help people every day. But with these races, I show people the power of the human mind and the human body, and I try to motivate people. But also by doing that, I say, hey, listen, I'm raising money for X or Y, and I'm doing this for it. You can do it too. You can, and if you can't donate, just bring some attention to it.
Yeah.
I started with the first group that I started raising money for was actually the guy who got me up on the boardwalk for that 4 mile race. His name's Jerry Snell. He's an awesome human being. He runs an organization called the Waterfront Warriors. They bring a couple of groups of families of wounded vets or families who lost a veteran. I mean, these guys are double amputees, triple amputees, quadruple amputees, and they bring them down twice a year. So they'll have like 5 or 6 families in the summer, 5 or 6 families in the winter, and they'll do stuff on the beach. They'll take them fishing. They'll take them to the Radio City.
That's awesome.
They do a bunch of great stuff, and I raised a bunch of money for them for my first race. From there, I went to an organization called the G2H Foundation. A friend of mine's little cousin was hit by a car and killed. He was 18 years old. He was a great kid. His name was Garen Hagen, and just a sweet, awesome leader, and a great family he comes from. And their family started this charity to help young athletes and young leaders and help them with scholarships and stuff. And it was great raising money for them because that meant that one was very personal to me. Like I said, the 34.3 Foundation, we do that with the runs every September 11th, but I also raised a lot of money with the 100-miler last year. And this year I'm going to be doing a full in Texas in April, and then I'm going back to Lake Placid, try to conquer that a little bit better. And also Jones Beach is a half in September. I'm raising money for Hooks for Heroes. They are an organization based out of Long Beach, but they're all across the country. They take first responders out on fishing trips to help with like PTSD and
That's
and
awesome.
other issues. Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, so the one thing that I did notice about you, like I said, is your philanthropy through this as well, and I think that it's such a cool opportunity because, um, I see like with marathons and things like that, a lot of people do that, and it's a good chance to give back to the community, and it's something that it's really cool. Honestly, just it's the only thing I could really say is it's very cool that you have that mindset. You could just sign up and go race, like you don't have to raise money, but it's cool that you want to bring that awareness and all the foundations that you're helping bring money to. I just think it's really cool that you're going to be doing that. Now, where can people, when are you going to put anything up in
Sure.
terms of like GoFundMe for the foundation, for the Hooks for Heroes to start to give? Like, where can people find that?
I'm I'm doing it through the IronMan Foundation. So I'm waiting for them to respond to an email to get set up a fundraising link. But if I don't get that in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably just set something up on my Instagram page and my Facebook page.
Gotcha.
So if anybody wants to help out, that would be great.
When you do that, let me know, and I'll make
Yeah.
sure we give it a shout out on the show, so
Absolutely.
we can start to get some people donating
Sure.
there.
Yeah, and like I said, even if people like, I know times are tough with the economy and stuff. So even if it's just bringing some awareness to it, you know what I mean, and spread the word. That's really all I could ask for. So.
And and I'm also curious, as a little aside to the foundations, is your experience that you had in the 100 miler thinking you're going to prepare yourself for that Texas heat? Because that's going to be different.
I mean, listen, Lake Placid has been in the upper 90s both times I did it. So when I did Mont Tremblant, so the second time I did Lake Placid, I was like, I got to do better. I crashed, I burned, and I know I'm capable of a lot more. So I got out, I worked harder, came back to Placid, and I did just as bad, if not even a little bit worse. And I was
You think
so
you're putting too much pressure on yourself? Like that you were like rather than have it happen organically, you were just like, I have to do this, and maybe that just kind of.
There's definitely a little bit of that, and there's definitely a lot of
the family's there, everyone's home,
Yeah, and like there's my mentality sometimes, like as much as the go is as a positive, it can be a negative too, because I should have taken my foot off the gas pedal a lot in a lot
There's
of
got to be
places.
patience involved with it.
Yeah, man, I have to be smart and not be all brawn. You know what I mean? I got to be a little bit of intelligence with it.
Brains over brawn sometimes.
Yeah, and I remember being like, I'm never doing this ever again. I don't know why I did this the second time. And
2 weeks later, you're probably back training for it, right?
I was in the car ride home with my wife, and I said, Mont Tremblant is in 1 month. Let's go up. I got to do better. It's in 1 month in Canada. And she was like, you're insane.
I feel like Beck's saying a lot of that.
Yeah. She's a saint, dude. She is an absolute saint. But we got in the car, and I had people telling me like, yo, dude, you can't do back-to-back Ironmans. You're not a professional. Like your body's not ready for this. Like you're not gonna get the results you want. Like just be smart, take it slow. I was like, no, I got this. And I went up to Canada, and I took 3 hours off my time, and I was psyched.
That's
and
incredible.
From then, like I spoke to a couple people about nutrition, and I got things dialed in, and I had a great race. And I think that I'm on the right path with my nutrition, my salt intakes. I finished a 10-mile run, and I have it's like salt deposits all over my face. You know what I mean? So
you don't realize what you're taking in until you do something like that, and you're
until
like,
you sweat it out
that much.
So like the nutritional aspect of these races have been the harder part. The training's one thing. It's just volume. And there's definitely hard days, but the hardest part for me has been the nutrition. But I'm finally on the right track, and I took that time off in Mont Tremblant, and yeah. Where were we going with that? I completely
just talking about Texas and how difficult Texas is going to be, and how
Texas, yeah. So I'm used to heat from Lake Placid, but it's just if I can get my nutrition dialed in the heat, I'll be okay.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to your results. I think you're going to do some really cool stuff. I'm also looking forward to relentless endurance racing becoming a thing. And I definitely want to have you on when that really takes off and start to have guests, athletes under your wing. And definitely, we both appreciate you jumping on the show, brother.
Listen,
appreciate it.
Do me a favor. Next year, Thanksgiving, get Alex's ass out there on a turkey trot. A little 5K won't hurt him. Get him out there.
You want me to run a 30-minute 5K?
He's talking all the stuff how he would have made fun of you for not finishing. Let's see him out there or not.
Hey,
what? You treat him like your friend treated you 3 days at a rehab. Let's go to this 5K, and we're gonna go all out.
Don't tell my family to abuse me. They will. Like they're allowed to.
As they should.
They're the people that are allowed to.
I taught with Alex's mom. She's a sweetheart, and she would certainly abuse you. So it's great.
Yeah. She would yell at me. But
hey, man, you gave all those shout outs to the guys doing the PRs. I want to say congratulations to everybody. Keep going. It's kind of like not to make this about a sober thing, but every day when you go to meetings, the beginning of the meetings are a day count, and everybody says their day count, and it's the energy of that is the positivity is what drives people. So
Yeah.
keep congratulating everybody on that. I'm proud of you guys. I think my son just did a PR. He did a 4.240. He got a new pair of Sonics slippers, so he's
Nice.
racing around the house nonstop. But maybe he'll be on the show next. We'll see.
Definitely.
Now, listen,
So
your story is one that anybody who listens, it's inspiring, and it shows the will that a human being can have. And I don't like to curse, but it shows how much that humans can achieve when they give a shit about themselves. And just everybody go out there, keep working hard, go for all of your dreams. If you get knocked down, get up and dream even higher.
and Greg,
Yeah,
how old were you when you really started? What was it, 5 years ago you really got into it? So how old were you then?
I got out of rehab when I was 33.
Right.
So that's another thing too. You
Yeah,
started
man.
this 5 years ago at 33 years old, and what you've accomplished. There's so many people that you're one of the inspiring stories because we had on Kira Diamato, who is the half marathon record holder for women. She set that at age 38, so she's a monster.
Man, she
But it's
took
like
8 years
people
off.
8 years off, had a family, had kids and everything.
Came
But it's
back.
people like her, people like
You.
you, people that overcome. And it's like, there's lifetime runners we talk to all the time, but you really started at 33. You started really training, and it's like you could do it. Like again, Dave and I, we can get off our asses and really go start training. Like, but anybody can. And it's just you need to have the willpower, you need to have the want. And it's, the doubt's going to be there. The injuries, the small little minor things, they're all going to happen. Life is going to happen. I'd imagine, you have a family, then life happens, shit happens, that people get sick. I have to do this, I have to do that, but it can be done. And
Yeah.
you're living proof that it can be done. Excuses are there for a reason because that's all they are. But anybody could do it. So, Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Yeah,
Thank you.
man. Like the Iron Man motto, anything is possible. And I just want to end it with I'm sure you guys got a lot of listeners. If I can help anybody, I'm happy to. I think you dropped my Instagram handle there.
Yep, it's right there at GKV 13.
Yeah. Give me a shout out if there's anything you want to talk about, or whether it doesn't matter what it is, if it's anything in life, if it's Iron Man, if it's work, if it's sobriety, whatever it may be. If I can help you, please reach out to me. I would love to help out. All right.
So once again, he is Greg Kavazanjian, 4-time Ironman, ultra marathon athlete, future fantastic coach of, I could see plenty of endurance and Ironman athletes.
I
And
just want to say thank you to Coach Torchia for
there we go. Coach
listening. We appreciate everyone who listens. Thank you, everybody. And yes, Greg's story was fantastic and it's inspiring. And please listen. And like Greg said, he's there if you need anything. He's an open book. He's inspiring to all of us. And I hope that more people who do struggle in life follow your lead and realize that there's a huge rainbow at the end of that bridge, and whatever you call it, and where anything is possible, just so you said. So keep on working, everybody, because life is precious, and enjoy every second of it that you can.
So I want to close out on that. I'm not going to do my full preamble about YouTube and all that other stuff. That's a perfect spot to close. Everyone knows what to do if you're watching this, if you're listening. So we'll be back next week with another fantastic show. We appreciate everyone that watches, and Dave and I'll be back. Greg, thanks again. So long, everyone.